Right, so let's talk summer blockbusters since we're here. I know we
Sure.
usually do this as a separate pod, but you know, it will be a separate pod anyway because it's going to be the deleted scenes pod for this one. Summer 2025 in a way can be regarded as the first full summer of blockbusters since the pandemic. Hear me out on this because obviously we came back properly sort of 2023 and 2024, but we had a writer's strike and we had an actor's strike as well, which had the effect on the bigger releases. The Mission Impossible film, for instance, was pushed back. There are some actually get pushed back to next year as well. So this year seems to be the year where a lot of films which were previously supposed to come out all came back out and everything as well. So in a way, yes, it's a continuation of the usual blockbuster season, but in another way, we're back to sort of full strength as far as Hollywood is concerned because everything's kind of aligned again and they're going through this period before the next inevitable strike, whether it's writers, directors, actors. It usually goes in cycles, I think it is. It's like 4 or 5 years because they have a deal that's set up for a couple of years rather than like sort of normal collective bargaining for an organisation where it's every year you're looking for your pay rise, your cost of living rise and all this sort of stuff. So they do it over a couple of years, which makes sense because you don't want film production, TV production to be disrupted in a way that it makes it virtually impossible to run anything. So looking at this year, what are your initial impressions of the sort of the summer season, which for purposes, we shall say it starts in May, because it really does as far as the Americans are concerned. It sort of runs May through to end of August. And we're obviously we're in the middle of August just now. So
yeah, no, it's funny how you say this is the first full year. I never really thought about it like that, but actually we have had some really big releases this summer, which we've obviously spoken about on the pod. I think cinema in general definitely seems busier. Certainly every screening that I've been going to for the likes of your Mission Impossible, your Superman, your Fantastic Four, the biggies, they've all been busy. And there's been a lot of buzz around these films as well. What's been interesting, and again, we have talked about this, is the promotional circuit, I feel, has completely changed this year, and it's something that I've really noticed with the F1 film and the Superman film in particular, is this notion of these little TikTok clips that sort of cast and crew have been going out to do. So whether it's like, as I said, like the Hot Wings challenge or, you know, Truth or Dare kind of situations, or the Lad Bible UK versus US snacks, like they're all involved in this in a way that I feel like we've never really seen before. So as much as it's been exciting and there's been loads of big films out and some good horror as well, there's actually been really good horror over the summer, which I think is unusual because I feel like I always think of horror as being like a September onwards kind of deal, but it's not. There's definitely been a lot more during the summer. But when you think about the films that have come out, the promotional circuit has changed really drastically this summer, and I think we're only going to see more of that as people and production companies and marketing companies are trying to get people to go to the cinema who wouldn't usually go. So of course, if you're not normally in the cinema, you're not going to see a trailer, you're not going to care about a film. Whereas if you're seeing clips of a cast sort of taking the piss out of each other on TikTok, you're like, oh, I might go and watch that film. So that to me has been the big sort of interesting shift this year. Is not just the size and the caliber of the films themselves, but actually how they're being marketed to people, which I think has been very, very different.
Yeah, totally right. It seems to be now that they're embracing fully all sorts of marketing opportunities, and I have said this before, I think a lot of it is down to the fact that it costs so damn much to actually promote a film. You regularly hear of the budget for the promotion to be, if not the same, more than what it actually costs to do the actual production of the film, which is crazy numbers. It's hundreds of millions sometimes that they're putting into these films in order to get them out there now. With the likes of social media and everything, it makes such a difference. You obviously have to have some clever people working at it as well, because if you're just going to flood the market with a lot of like 30-second clips of things, or like wee 2-minute videos and things like that, then it becomes overkill. So you have to make sure you do it properly. The Superman one did it very, very cleverly because it was kind of spaced out. They would have things, they would release it on one platform, and then that would organically get spread to, like for instance, it would be TikTok videos initially. but the videos would be copied by people and they would put it in their own feeds on Instagram and Facebook, and it's just, well, I'm not going, probably Twitter as well, but then there would be like so many horrible comments underneath those. So. Yeah. But yes, it is very clever the way they've done it, and I think it does reflect the fact that people are still interested in movies as well, and how they consume all the stuff around it. They don't just want to see the movie, they want to understand a wee bit about the film as well and get sort of the background that is so big a part of a film. Like a film runs 2 years normally before it actually hits the screen. So what are these people like? How did they get on with it? What were the decisions in making it? So you're covering just the sort of casual viewer, and you're covering the people like ourselves who want to know a bit more. We want to know why a director was actually, what was his idea behind a certain thing and all that. And you get that through all these wee clips. It doesn't necessarily need to be like a 20-minute interview. It's usually only, I think the most they actually get for like podcasts and things like that is like 15 minutes at the most.
Yeah.
So everybody, and even then it tends to be cut down a wee bit. So it's the emphasis on making it snappy, making it quick and all that. So yeah, it really does make a difference. Now, in terms of the movies, I'll run through a list of the top 10 so far in summer, okay?
Yeah.
In order from 1 to 10. So the top film so far is Lilo and Stitch, which kind of makes sense. Kids films, family films always do really well.
Yeah.
And it's following a trend of live action versions of sort of beloved classics, beloved animations. Now, there's a lot of talk about Lilo and Stitch in that would it be a success, because it's been a number of years since it's been out, but what people tended to forget was it's all over the Disney Channel. The film's there, there's a TV series as well that's there. And
merch has never gone away. Like, I feel like I've always been able to, like, no matter what Disney character you like, I feel like Stitch has always been like in kids shops or like your Primarks or your supermarket shops. There's always been, so I feel like the character has never gone away, even if the film has not been something that's been out for a long time. Yep,
absolutely. Number 2 is Superman, which again, there was a big question mark hanging over that one. It's the first release from the new, don't want to say DCEU because it's not, it's DC Studios, they're calling it.
Yes.
The enterprise. Yes. Obviously, James Gunn's first major foray into that one now, since it's been rebooted. I know he did Suicide Squad previously, and we've talked quite extensively that we reviewed that film and we talked about the marketing behind that. So I think you can probably say that this has been sort of an unqualified success.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that the casting in general has really helped. Like, lots of young girls really love Nicholas Hoult, so there's that. David Corenswet, obviously not terrible to look at, let's be honest. And then like Rachel Brosnahan does have like a nice solid following thanks to, you know, like Marvelous Mrs. Maisel and stuff like that. So I think the actual cast itself, you know, their chemistry obviously is brilliant, but those individual actors are bringing their own fan base to the film as well, which I think really helps for something like that. Because I mean, I said to you, and I said it on the pod, like Superman was never really my favorite DC character. It's not really one I would have sought out, but the casting was what sort of drew me along to that initially. Then saw a trailer and thought, yeah, do you know what? I'll give that a go. So I'm not surprised it's performed as well as it has. And isn't it interesting that in this commentary of, you know, go woke, go broke and all this nonsense that the right wing seem to spout, a film that's ultimately about kindness and being yourself has performed so well. And even Lilo and Stitch, if you think about it, it's about welcoming an alien into your house, showing them love, showing them family. Like, isn't it strange how these two films have done so well? It shows that maybe our real opinions are reflected in what we choose to go and see.
Yeah. If you look at some of the other films, it is a kind of a common theme about acceptance and bringing in outsiders and everything into your world, which is reflected in number 3, which is Jurassic World Rebirth. So it's dinosaurs are the immigrants here. It's not a surprise that the Jurassic World film is so popular. I mean, it's only 2 million below the Superman film in terms of box office. Okay. It's sitting at $323 million in the US box office, obviously slightly higher abroad. But it doesn't matter with the Jurassic World films whether they're good or not. Apparently, they just make money no matter what. If you look at all of them, they have all made money apart from, I think it was Jurassic Park 3, which was a typical third entry in a film franchise. It was okay, it was all right, but it didn't do the money. But all the Jurassic World films have done so well. They've sort of been close to $1 billion. So do I, yeah. But it's the kind of thing people want to see dinosaurs.
I just want to see dinosaurs
attacking people. Yeah. And obviously I have refreshed it a wee bit, so this is like an entry level film in the franchise as well. So you don't necessarily, like, everybody knows there are dinosaurs. That's all you really need to know. As far as this story is concerned, there are dinosaurs and they've been brought back. You don't need to know how they were actually brought back and anything, obviously, and because the film will go into that in a wee bit. So it does kind of make sense, I suppose. So the fourth one, How to Train Your Dragon, which I found a really strange one because it completely passed me by in terms of like kids' film and things like that. But it's been absolutely massive, which was kind of predicted by a lot of people.
Really? I mean, I haven't seen the animated version. I must admit, I was probably a bit just too old when it came out. I know that Gerard Butler obviously is in this live action one. They've sort of got him done up as a kind of big ginger bearded sort of Viking looking character. But I didn't realise that the originals had such a popular following. Again, a bit like the Lilo and Stitch thing, that a live action remake would generate. But again, I suppose they've been canny with the release times, school holidays, all that sort of thing. That does help towards, as we've said, if it's raining sideways and your kids are driving you up the wall, pap everyone off to the cinema for the afternoon,
Yeah, and it happens that there's a cute dragon in it as well. So it's like a sort of, it's a story about sort of growing a wee bit and acceptance and things like that, because the dragons are always seen as the enemies and all that as well. And that's another one that's not really gone away, because you've had 3 films and you've had...
Oh, is there? Didn't know that.
Yeah, there's been 3 How to Train Your Dragon films, and there has been I don't know if it's like a TV series, but there's like sort of shorts that are on, I think it's on Netflix. So there's stuff, and there's stuff, it's just keeping the content going and keeping it there, and it is kind of beloved. The animated films did sort of gangbusters as well. They were really, really popular. So I think they've kind of taken the idea that, wait a minute, Disney's recycling their products, and they're not necessarily too old. You're only talking about maybe about 15 years ago when How to Train Your Dragon came out. Now, like I say, they were just a wee bit too late for my kids. They were kind of beyond that at that point. They were into other things, Ben 10 and all this sort of stuff. So it wasn't, so I didn't really know about it, but I knew that they were popular and it did have like a massive big following. So it did kind of make sense. Number 5, Fantastic Four, First Steps. We obviously discussed.
Yeah, I was going to start singing that. Again, it's such a good score. I'm not surprised. I'm actually surprised it's not further up, if you want to see, but then it's newer out, so maybe it'll catch up.
Yes. Yeah, it's only been out for, 4 weeks, something like that.
Yeah.
So yes, it's still got legs, I think, and it may not overtake any of the other ones because there's quite a difference in sort of box office between them, but this has obviously been a welcome boost for Marvel. Yeah. And their ambitions, their ongoing ambitions as well. So it kind of shows that there is still an audience for these things. And it kind of dispels the whole superhero fatigue thing. And like you said, was it yourself that posted the article saying that there's not any other superhero films for 6 months?
Yeah, I sent that to you guys, which is interesting in itself, because we don't usually have that big a gap between the next stage and the next stage and the next stage of things. Yeah,
I think we'll find over the next couple of years that won't be the case, because obviously with the DC stuff coming to fruition and the success of the first one, then there will be a couple next year, and there will be green lighting quite a few things, I would imagine as well. So yes, you probably won't get that over the next. And it shows that you only get superhero fatigue when the stories aren't very good.
Yeah,
because you're seeing the same things again and again. When you're seeing something a bit novel and a bit new and more interesting, more than anything else, and if someone's got a decent story, it's going to pull you in no matter what. But when you're just seeing the battling New York falling to the ground every 6 months, you're just kind of fed up with that sort of thing. So that's why some of the decisions in recent superhero films make them more interesting, because it doesn't happen in that way to the same extent. Yes, there was a bit of a battle, but it didn't flatten Manhattan this time for a change. So
I like that. That rhymes. Flatten Manhattan.
Flatten Manhattan. Let's not use it as a slogan because
No,
people
no.
will think we're serious about.
Yeah.
I'll have the CIA at my door, whisking me off to a black site somewhere. But yeah, you're the guy behind Flatten Manhattan, are you? Right, okay. Even saying that in jest, you know. Oh dear.
I know.
Right.
I know.
Number 6, Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning. Again,
I'm surprised that's as high up because I think I honestly thought that people weren't as enamored with that franchise anymore. But I guess because it's the last one, and people are like, "Oh, I've seen all the other ones. I'll go and sort of finish this off." But I'm surprised that I would have thought F1 would have been further up, given all the efforts they've gone through for marketing. But
it wasn't too far away. But yeah.
Yeah, but again, it is testament to the fact that, you know, Tom Cruise can sell a movie, can get bums on seats.
Definitely. And I think a lot of people wanted to see it because it's been billed as the final Tom Cruise film. Now, sorry, Tom Cruise Mission Impossible film.
No, but I get what you mean.
Whether that's actually the case in future installments is, you know, we don't know. And that could affect the next film as well, because if this one's saying it's the final reckoning, you know, and then the next one comes along and say, well, why is he back?
It's the final reckoning.
Yeah. Guess what? I'm back. You know?
Yeah.
So yes, again, it was another film that learned from its mistakes the same way that Marvel has learned from its mistakes as well, especially in terms of the promotion of the film. They didn't give everything away in terms of, oh, look at the massive stunts we're going to be doing here and all this kind of thing. So they were a bit quieter about it. But they did a lot of very sort of low-level marketing, like Tom Cruise being pictured at a cinema promoting another film like Sinners or something like that. But at the same time, in every byline it said Tom Cruise while out promoting his new Mission Impossible film buys tickets for Sinners. So yeah, it's very clever, very, very interesting. Number 7 was Thunderbolts, Asterix, which did better than a lot of people expected. Again, that hit $190 million at the US box office, which is fairly decent. Again, because it's not an origin story. They just, all these characters were there, and if you did your homework with regards to these characters, then all good. You had a certain amount of background. You didn't need it for the film. They did wee bits in it, just wee 2-minute bits that introduced everybody and kind of brought it all together, which is great. And again, they didn't have a big crashy-bashy ending to it. It was actually quite a low-key ending to it. So yeah, quite interested that did well. So they've obviously 2 very good films within the sort of summer arena, which, yes, we'll see. This is obviously what phase 6 has now started with Fantastic Four. So we shall see how it progresses from there, because they're bringing all these people together, like the announcement for the Avengers film. I didn't know this. I only saw like the short video. It was like a couple of days after it, where they had all the chairs out and it went from one to another. They did that really slowly over the period of about 5 hours. They had a live video stream and they would like focus on like one chair and slowly move to the next chair. Yeah, it was hours and hours, because I was listening to an episode of the Empire podcast and they were recording while this was going on. And there was like 4 or 5 and it goes, oh, stop everything. What's the next chair? What's the next name and all that? So it was really cool.
That's mad.
I know. And then they would like talk a wee bit about that and all that. But the fact that they didn't just do an announcement, they made it an event. The announcement is the event, you know, and you wanted to know, you had to sit there for 5 hours watching chairs, you know, until you got to the very end one.
Which I'm sure some people did, obviously.
I'm sure they did, yeah. Yep. So at number 8, F1 the movie.
I'm shook that is as far down as it is. I really thought that would be so much higher up, because I think that you've got Brad Pitt fans, you've got F1 fans, you've got people who just love a big noisy blockbuster. Like, I'm really surprised this is as far down as it is. I thought that would have been much higher up. I mean, I had great fun with that film. I had my issues with it, obviously, but I had so much fun with it, and I think it's got loads of rewatch value out of it as well. And obviously they're still promoting it, as I said to you, on the actual F1 season. A couple of races ago, they replaced the normal music with the Hans Zimmer score. So I'm surprised it's as low down as it was, because I did think overall it was a really good film.
It is still in cinemas. You still can see it. And when you log on to Apple TV Plus, the first splash screen is the F1 movie, still in cinemas. coming to Apple TV, and it doesn't say when.
Yeah.
So it's not like saying, well, it's going to be there in 3 weeks or 3 months. So you're not going to be, if somebody looks at that and say, oh, well, just wait for it. But if it's not saying, you know, actually when it's coming onto the service, then they're more likely to go to the cinema. Interestingly, this is the only original product in the top 10. Everything else.
Again, that doesn't surprise me. Like, I just think that there's, I don't want to say such a lack of ideas, because that's not fair, because the, you know, likes of Fantastic Four and Superman that we talked about have had brilliant ideas, and we've obviously really enjoyed them as films, but it's the struggle to get something that's different and new into cinemas, I think, must be gargantuan now, because there is this expectation that, you know, it's already attached to existing IP, or you're going to be able to sell merch off of it or whatever. And I just think that I mean, let's be honest, it's not even original product in the sense that it's something that nobody's heard of. It comes with the full backing of F1 and Liberty Media, obviously, that own like the rights to like F1 broadcast and things like that. Like, so it comes with like this almighty backing behind it. And yet I just think it's so, I don't know where cinema is heading, in the sense that, like, I enjoy a big popcorn blockbuster and a Marvel movie and all the rest of it, but I do despair at the fact that, you know, original content, i.e. not attached to something that already exists, is just so lacking.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yes. It is interesting that the biggest known sort of franchise film is actually one that's related to a massive big organization like F1, though.
Yeah.
So is that the way that you have to go and promote these things now? Do you have to have, it's still an established brand, even though it's not a, you know, it's not a movie franchise or anything like that, but it is interesting that it's there, and it's probably the biggest cinema hit that Apple have had, and I think they'll be quite pleased with the fact that it's sitting in the top 10 and it's brought in $176 million, because otherwise, like, for other films that they have done, they haven't done the same numbers at all. It's just not been as popular. Before it goes on to the streaming service, you will get people signing up for Apple TV on the back of the fact that they'll have the F1 movie on there permanently from now on, because it's such a big deal. It's been, like you say, it's been getting promoted for 2 years, really. Every time you look at an F1 race, or even just news coverage from F1 race, they have sometimes these wee things in the background and all that, just because they're looking for an angle to do a news story on something. So it kind of makes sense. So number 9 is the only horror film in the top 10, which is Final Destination Bloodlines, which I think has been the most successful Final Destination film of the entire franchise. They've always been popular, but they were now, horror films don't get up to that sort of level. They don't, in terms of summer blockbusters and things like that. If the release is timed correctly and with a little fortune, then they become popular, but they don't do the sort of numbers that we're talking about here, like $138 million. That's exceptional for a horror film. And I'll tell you what the next one is below that in a couple of minutes. But so have you seen it?
No, I haven't actually, and I'm annoyed because I did miss it at the cinema. It just timings didn't work out. But I definitely want to see it. Like, I think the trailer, obviously, when it starts off in the tattoo parlor, and the guy, and he gets caught on his piercing, it's caught. Even just thinking about it makes me feel sick. Like, but I thought that there's so many. It's funny because Final Destination is one of those franchises where if you've seen it at a certain point in your life, it's like if you see logs on the roads, you're like, Final Destination. If somebody talks about sunbeds, Final Destination. Going on roller coasters, Final Destination. Like, it's so linked to all these experiences. So I really did want to see it. I just, as I say, timings didn't work out, but I will seek it out, obviously, when it ends up in a streaming service. But I'm not surprised that it's done well, because there's a whole generation of people who, as I say, are so linked to this franchise because every time you saw a certain thing, it made you think of it. So I'm not surprised that it's done well. Like, and I'm actually pleased to see some horror in the top 10 as well. Yeah,
it's good because the people behind the franchise took a bit of a chance on this when they brought in young filmmakers on this. People who had been established and done things, but they brought these guys in. They spoke to a lot of people in order to get this relaunch because they wanted to do something a wee bit fresher with it. Obviously, within the traditions of the Final Destination franchise, like how there's no great surprises. here, and it's all in the mechanics of how they built it up. But I listened to an interview with the directors of it, and they were talking about how they pitched the movie to the studio and all that. So they had a big Zoom call set up with all the executives and them, and they obviously talk through their ideas and how they love the franchise and all this. And they must have heard that the executives hear this all the time, I would imagine. But while they were sitting there on the call, in the background, they were sitting in a room, and it had this roaring fire in the background on a fireplace. And then about 3/4 of the way through the meeting, flames started to sort of spark out of the fireplace, and things started to catch fire up and around, and they were still just chatting away on the call, and the executives, all the people were like pointing, shouting and all this, and going, "Oh, you're going on," and they were just going on as if it was normal. And then they turn around and they look and they see there's flames in the background, and they jump up and they're all, "No, should we call 911 and all this?" And it kind of started to get out of control, and then they both like got fire extinguishers and started like fixing all the fire extinguishers and everything, and like managed to get the flames and all, and all the executives were all cheering and all that, saying, "That's really, oh, well done, well sorted and all that." So they sat down and they said, "Look, really sorry about that, obviously it's just, it just kind of happens." And then there was an almighty crash, and there was an overhead fan fell down and decapitated one of the directors. And blood started spurting out from his neck, sort of in that way. They totally set it up. At one point during the video, they switched from like a live feed to a pre-recorded one. And then the other guy was still talking away, what he's saying, thanks for the opportunity and everything. We really hope you're in this. His body's sitting there, was spurting and all that. And then I think the body falls away, another guy goes off screen, and then they both come back on, and the guys like that come back on, and he's putting his head back on.
And saying, God,
I'm really sorry for all the interruptions. And that's what sold it in terms of these executives, because these guys knew exactly the kind of thing that needed to be done in terms of the film and all that, and they were able to like show don't tell, basically.
That is
they did that.
Brilliant. That is absolutely brilliant. I've never heard of two people more deserving of getting a job than to go to that effort to cut your own head off. That is amazing.
Yeah, it's quite the pitch, isn't it? I was really pleased. I thought that was really funny, and I think that's kind of reflected in the way that the film is actually come across, because there's a lot of fun in it. Yeah. Everybody that it's difficult to do something that's quite new with these type of films, because you're expecting certain things to happen, and it's all to do with the mechanics of how it goes. And like it's almost like the fake jump scare. They do that with certain things, and it misses, and that's been reflected in other films that we've seen over the summer as well, I suppose. But
I was thinking like the monkey. We talked about that death scene in the monkey, where she like gets the fish sticks in her face, and it's like the gas, and then she gets up on the spike, and that's so Final Destination.
Yeah. So the last one in the top 10 was Elio, which is a Disney Pixar film. I don't think it's been out for very long. It's sitting about $72 million in terms of the box office. Again, Pixar's not doing particularly well. They've been running into issues with just their, it's kind of sequelitis with them a wee bit, and they're kind of doubling down on it by doing like another Toy Story film and all this. We've talked about that before, but so that doesn't kind of really surprise me in terms of how it's done. We've done okay. It'll go into Disney. It'll do really well on the Disney service as well. I mean, ones that were obviously, you talked about horror films. What were your sort of horror highlights from the summer?
Well, I was thinking things like, they're not. I've seen that they're not. Obviously, Weapons is just out. You've got Bring Her Back. You've got Together, which I think will do really well. You had the Final Destination one. You've got the new I Know What You Did Last Summer as well, that's coming out. There was a couple other ones I feel like it's slightly earlier on, like towards May time as well, but I feel like there's been a lot that either they've been out or are just coming out that I know that obviously people are talking about that I think will do quite well. Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, you could even, like, there was obviously like Clown in a Cornfield as well, which came out really early. Yeah. And The Surfer, to a certain extent, could be regarded as I suppose,
sort of a horror film as well. So yeah, you've got that. So yes, it kind of. I was thinking about The Monkey, but I think that was kind of pre-May time. That was quite early.
I wasn't sure if that would fit into.
I think it was.
Time of year.
And obviously you've got one that failed dramatically in Megan 2.0, which was...
Oh, yes!
That was promoted as being one of the big movies of the summer, and it just completely bombed. It just did not do the business at all, which
is so bizarre, because the first one obviously was such a big hit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, definitely. So there's another film, 28 years later, horror film, which was just outside the top 10 in the summer,
Yeah, that
which
didn't do
really
anything
surprised
for
me. Yes, I know it didn't do anything for you, but
I think the thing with that is it might struggle internationally. So I think it's one of these films that, I'm sure I say this in the pod, it feels very British. Like that whole trilogy feels very British. So I feel like it's one of those films that will probably do well here. But actually, does it translate to big takings at the US box office? Not sure.
Yeah, well, it's done better than the likes of Ballerina and the Karate Kid Legends at the US box office. It's like the number 11 film at the moment in the US box office in terms of the summertime. So it's done okay.
Right, okay.
And I think, like you say, it's probably doing better in non-American territories than there, which does kind of make sense. And we talked about that to like a sort of greater extent. One of the surprise flops for me this summer was the Ballerina film. I thought that would have done a lot better.
Do you know, it's so funny how that's died a death, because when we were walking into the cinema on Friday night, as now Silverburn's got all those sort of like electronic posters as you walk down the corridor, there was a whole wall full of Nobody 2. And I was like, and it's out this week. I've not seen a single bloody trailer for that. It's not been advertised. And I feel like Ballerina was the same. So part of me is like, if you're not going hell for leather on the advertising, when, as we've spoken about, we know that this is what you need to do in order to get bums on seats, what are you expecting in terms of return? Or have you given up in a film before it's already hit the cinemas? Do you know what I mean?
I think Ballerina was a difficult one because there was major reshoots with that film, and they emphasised the John Wick part of it more rather than it was like from the world of John Wick. I think that was like the title of it, you know, and you're kind of thinking, well, so you're expecting
from the director of Braveheart.
Yeah, Nobody 2 kind of snuck up on me as well, because I didn't see the trailer for it. There is a trailer out there, but I didn't see it. I actually saw the film last Monday in the press screening for it. It's exactly what you want from a Nobody film. It starts off in exactly the same way, and you're kind of laughing right at the very start, because the opening scene is exactly the same as the opening scene in the first film, where he's sitting there, he's all bloodied, and he's being interrogated by like FBI or whatever. So, and it's just, and it just kind of goes, right, I want to see this film, I want to see what happens. So it's basically
it's a strange one that it's a strange one that it's not been advertised, because funnily enough, do you remember when we did the Monkey podcast and I said to you about Oz Perkins' next film, Keeper? So I saw the trailer for that on Friday night. I've never been more excited for a film in my puff. It just looks so fucking like mental, bloody. It's going to play with your mind, screwy, all that sort of thing. So I was like, yeah, definitely up for that. And then, as I say, I was like, I haven't seen a single trailer for Nobody 2, which is so weird, because it did so well. Like the first film obviously was a bit of a kind of surprise hit. You know, everyone was like, oh my God, Bob Odenkirk can fight. This is amazing. But it was actually a really well written, really well executed film. Like the stunts were great, all that sort of thing. So I thought that would be plastered everywhere, like posters, trailers, you name it. And I just thought that, to me, is a sign of a studio that doesn't have confidence in its product, if it's just like, you know, a poster in the corridor. And that makes me nervous about a film. However, you've obviously seen it and you said it's good, and it's exactly kind of what you want from that type of film. So yes, I would go and see it, but I do think it's really bizarre how some of these, like Ballerina, that I would expect to be a bigger hit or a bigger promo trail, are just sort of dying a death in amongst everything else that's going on, I guess. Yeah,
it does. I think you're totally right. I think they've kind of lost confidence in certain films, and they just say, well, we'll just put it out there and we'll make our money back when we sell it to a streaming service or whatever. Or, it's not ideal, but you're totally right. Nobody 2 snuck up on me. I had no idea it was coming out. I knew they were doing a second film, but I didn't know anything about it, and trailer passed me by and everything as well. So,
I mean, I'm going to go look at the trailer because I would like to see it. But equally, things like The Naked Gun, which I think people were very on the fence about, having seen the trailers, has become, everyone's absolutely raving about it. Empire are giving it like 4.5 stars, saying it's the laugh a minute, all this sort of thing. So there's something strange going on in cinema where it's a bit topsy-turvy in terms of what you expect might do well, sort of doesn't, or is not being promoted. And then you've got these kind of, I'm not saying The Naked Gun obviously is like a small budget thing. It's obviously not. Plus it is tied into obviously the previous successes of the Leslie Nielsen film. So again, it's got that backing, it's got that history there. But it's an unusual move again from Liam Neeson, like career-wise, I guess. So maybe that felt like a risk. I don't know, but people seem to be absolutely loving it. There is a very bizarre thing going on in cinema just now.
Yes, it is. But just to round off this discussion, do you think that it has been a successful 2025 summer season?
I would say so. I think cinemas have been busy. There's been a lot of big titles there, as you've said, and there's also lots more to look forward to. Like every time I go to the cinema, I see at least a couple of trailers for things that I'm like, oh, must make a note of that. That looks great. That's out in September, October. So I feel like there's an excitement. There's a buzz that's back there. As we've said, I think the promotional trail has altered significantly. But interestingly, this is the first summer that I've ever heard of where we are now booking tickets for summer 2026 for Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey, which in itself means that cinema still has that power. People are booking those tickets. So it makes me feel very, very hopeful, actually, this year so far. It makes me feel very hopeful that cinemas are full or close to full, that people are excited about going. There's a buzz about certain films, whether that's massive, big budget ones or sort of smaller ones, it doesn't matter as long as the buzz is there. So it makes me feel very confident, actually, that one, we're still getting good films, which is important, and two, that people want to go and see these films, which is equally important because that's how the cinemas are going to stay open. So yeah, it's made me feel very, very hopeful.
Excellent. I feel pretty much the same way there. The content's there for the sort of mass market, which is the lifeblood of cinema. It gives smaller films money, gives them more of an opportunity as well, in that there are people who are willing to risk money in smaller films, not in the same way that they're willing to risk money on like massive films, because the money seems to be there all the time for these films that are costing upwards of $300 million now. But there are a lot of small films being made. There are a lot of film funds out there. You only have to watch a film at a film festival and the first 2 minutes is taken up with all the titles of all the companies that are involved, and then they list them all as the film starts again. So you get their wee logos because they've obviously spent a bit of money in the logos, and then you get their names and everything, and you're going, oh, come on. The only time it's interesting is when it's the surprise film. And surprise
trying to work out
the Glasgow Film Festival, and there's like 2 minutes of this and everybody goes, oh, this sort of stuff, because they don't know, because they think it's going to be like, well, the next Spider-Man film or something like that. Totally unrealistic. It's never been anything like that, but yeah. But yes, I think it has been a good summer season, and there have been a lot of very, very popular films. Not all of them are to my taste, but that's not the point here. The point is that they have kind of bounced back. There's been more successes than flops with the major releases, which probably couldn't have been said last year. There was a number of films who just didn't perform the way they should have. But again, number of factors and everything. But yes, I think it's been a good season, which is good for the future of cinema, I suppose. Keeps us entertained. Keeps us in a podcast.
I was going to say, keeps our pod in business.
Yep. Business, a failing business, but still a business. So here we go.